Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the professor, and this is the moment of truth.
I had a gay professor in college at a time when openly gay folks still weren't outlawed, who became one of my favorite professors and was a great guy and would call me out when I started saying stuff that was ignorant. You need that to show empathy and kindness. And by the way, you need that person in your friend group so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in this.
Well, I guess it's safe to say that Michelle Obama's little old podcast must be in trouble because she's brought in the irrelevant ex-president who she was talking trash about a few weeks ago, as usual, and now she's got him on her little side show. I don't know which one of them is the bigger idiot. And I find Obama's reference to a gay professor to be doubly interesting because Michelle co-hosts that little show of hers with her brother, who many have already opined is LGBT himself. And the black media has speculated since the days that he was in the White House that Barack Obama is a closet homosexual. He certainly has more than a soft spot for the LGBT community. He prioritizes them every single chance he gets beyond anything that any president had done before or since. Now, a lot of people who bought into the fairy tale of Barack Obama's presidency and his marriage, they've also had problems accepting that Michelle Obama would be part of this, but the reality is the black media told you Michelle Obama is Barack's beard. And that even she knows this. That's part of the reason why she sounds so much like Jada Pinkett talking about Will Smith, another sexually suspect individual. That's what happens when these women are in these relationships with these guys. The whole world sees him one way, but they're like behind closed doors, he's totally different. How else do you explain the fact that Barack Obama would marry an openly masculine, strong-featured, grumpy heifer like Michelle Obama? And sure, you can try to say, but didn't he have sexual relations with white women way back in the day? I mean, he was having sex with women long before he got around to Michelle Obama. Look, that is allegedly true. But this would hardly be the first time that some sort of high-ranking male did something like this. Remember, a number of male politicians and social climbers in particular, especially the ones who are in elite circles, have done things just like having a woman as his wife just to maintain appearances. That's what happens whenever you're in these circles. You know that you're part of a small minority of individuals and everybody wants to have family men around them because those guys are perceived to be more stable. So if you happen to be gay, what in the world do you do? If you're trying to get to those top echelons, you're not going to be doing it with another man by your side. Just ask Pete Buttigieg. How many Republican politicians have been Mr. Family Values on camera their entire careers? They've had girlfriends and were married for years, if not decades, only for it to finally come out that they were gay the entire time. And there's also been a number of white preachers who've been caught doing the exact same kind of things. When someone of any sexual orientation is trying to climb the ladder, bedroom politics becomes just another tool to get what they want. Men who have gone into the world and struck up long-term relationships with women just so that they can try to find a way to climb the social ladder, that's nothing new. After all, how many of these women out here have caught STDs from down-low men? Lots of individuals have sex with women when they have minimal or even no interest in them. And when you mix in the nuances of sexual politics with electoral politics, then the situation becomes far more complicated and a lot more perverted. I guess the point that I'm trying to make is something that I said many years ago, that when you have people in these political circles, especially these elite individuals, they don't have marriages, they have arrangements. Why do you think it is that Hillary Clinton stayed with Bill Clinton after all of the scandals, after all of the multiple humiliations? She stayed with the guy regardless. Why? Because she still felt that she needed to be attached to him for her own abortive run for the presidency. That's what her goal had been, Jesus, since she was back in college way back in the 60s. She had been daydreaming about that her entire adult life. She hitched her star to Bill Clinton's wagon, and for a hot minute there, she actually thought that she could pull it off. A lot of people tell themselves that the wives of these down-low, high-profile men are clueless, like Andrew Gillum's wife. People say that, but even after the man is found out to be cruising for dudes, the wife stays with him regardless. Now, why do you think that is? Remember, these people don't have marriages. They have arrangements. But just because the wife is getting something out of the deal doesn't mean that it doesn't frustrate her. They just learn how to do the public performance same way their husbands do. When Michelle Obama griped and huffed like a baby at the question of whether she wanted to have a son, that was an example of somebody who just couldn't contain their frustration any longer.
The former First Lady tells radio host Angie Martinez that she's more than okay with not having a son during the June 18th episode of her and brother Craig Robinson's IMO podcast.
You should have threw a boy in the mix.
I would. I'm so glad I didn't have a boy.
Yeah.
Because he would have been a Barack Obama.
It's like baby Barack. It would have been amazing.
No, I would have felt for him.
She just borrowed our boys.
So in the Obama household, they love to take swipes at anything male every chance they get. Barack should have his wife be mentored so she can finally learn some empathy. I think that anyone with half a working brain cell can agree that Michelle Obama has a deep-seated hatred and contempt when it comes to black males in particular. It doesn't matter if they're black men, black boys, or just black anything that's male. She can't stand it and hates them. Why? Well, she's got some sort of chip on her shoulder. Now, she herself said that no black man ever molested her or did anything to wrong her. In fact, she tries to talk and pretend as if she had some sort of grudging respect for her father, but yet she spews venom at black men every chance she gets. So if black men never did anything wrong to her, why does she hate black men so much? The only explanation for that is that for some reason, Michelle Obama has an inferiority complex where black men are concerned. And that's where this comes from. She just doesn't like black men because I guess she felt that she was going to compete against black men or show black men up. There was some part of her that felt like she needed to show black men who was boss. That didn't happen. When she got with Barack Obama, she was making more than him, at least at the time, for a while, and I guess she thought that's the right balance. But Barack Obama eventually was selected by the Democratic leadership to run for public office. He was soon selected to be skyrocketed straight to the top, and Michelle Obama wound up having to play second fiddle to him, and you can tell that this woman's been seething about that ever since. As far as she was concerned, all was right with the world, and then Barack Obama decided he wanted to be president. And now every time you look up, instead of her being the great wife who's showing up her little husband who's just a pet poodle for her, instead it's like, okay, he's still a gutless, completely and thoroughly spineless wonder, but the problem is, I'm playing second fiddle to him and I don't like it. So when you see Michelle Obama finger-wagging and lecturing black men and saying, you need to do better and be better at everything, etc., you know that's how she's been talking to Barack Obama behind the scenes, behind closed doors as well. Her castrated husband, this is a guy who doesn't stand up for anything, not even for himself. But he was able to make it to the White House, and as far as she was concerned, that's always going to be a feather in his cap that she can't match. She'll never have bragging rights bigger than him on that. So as far as she's concerned, her consolation prize is, well, I can at least belittle and humiliate him every chance I get, just to show everybody, sure, he outshined me, and in the end, he wound up making it where I had to take the back seat to him, but I don't respect him. And I'll let everybody know I don't respect him. In fact, I don't respect black men in general. And this is the woman he's talking to when it comes time to talk about boys and empathy. This is the individual there. He doesn't seem to understand what an elephant in the room that she is. But then again, he himself has more than enough baggage on that front. Neither one of them is qualified or has any legitimacy to speak on what is in the interest of boys of any color, especially not black boys. Neither one of them is in any position to give any advice when it comes to boys at all. They need to keep their mouths shut and learn. But then again, they think as far as they're concerned, their job is not to learn anything. They know it all. They're supposed to be lecturing and telling everybody else what to think, and they just can't figure out why it is that nobody listens to them. But if I were a betting man, I'd say it's probably not going to be too long before Netflix or whatever other white media company is their current sponsor will go ahead and give them some money to make a quote-unquote documentary of some sort, where this is exactly what they'll be saying. Expect to see that in the future from Barack and Michelle Obama, some sort of half-brained documentary that's basically going to be saying that heterosexuals aren't the best mentors for boys. They need to have a gay mentor to teach them empathy. And Barack Obama, he'll tell you exactly why that's important. We got to do something about all this toxic masculinity. We need some empathy in here. We need some sensitivity in here. We don't need all of this stuff we've had all these years. Expect to see that before it's all over. But why even go there? Why him talking about boys need gay mentors in the first place? Why does this man fixate on young men and boys in particular? He doesn't have any sons, he only has daughters. So doesn't it make sense that if anything, he would be advocating that girls should have lesbian mentors? Shouldn't he have been extolling the virtues of that for his own daughters? Considering how they were running around smoking weed and making a mockery of being the first women of color in the White House, I think they desperately need some mentoring, or parenting at the very least. That's what you would think Barack Obama would be focused on, but he's not. Instead, he limits his recommendation only to people who have male children, and we all know that when he says boys, he means black boys, because that's who he likes to whine at and lecture and finger wag at. If he didn't mean simply black boys, then he would have made sure to specify that. He wasn't, well, we're talking about everybody, not just black boys, just everybody. Same way that Michelle Obama made it clear that when she said men need to do this or men need to do that, it was black men that she was lecturing, especially when it comes to voting habits. Because boys need to learn empathy, according to Barack Obama. And he said they need a gay mentor in particular because apparently there's something wrong with the heterosexual mentor in his mind, no empathy. Now, if empathy was what he thought was lacking, why not recommend a female mentor for boys, huh? Considering that his wife was sitting right across from him, you would think that he would mention, well, women have empathy. But then again, considering the way that she talks about him, maybe that's the reason why he didn't decide to say that women could teach boys about empathy. I think that all of this is Barack Obama trying to go ahead and vent some of the stuff that he really thinks. What was really going through his mind when he was wagging his finger at black men about not supporting Kamala Harris? This is him demanding empathy. That's what that is. He identifies with Kamala Harris, same way that he identifies more closely with his wife than he does with any other male that he knows. Now, if Barack Obama felt so strongly about boys in particular needing gay mentors, why didn't he say any of that when he was president? He lit up the White House after the Supreme Court handed down their ruling that legalized gay marriage. That was a perfect opportunity for him to go ahead and say that, especially considering that Trayvon Martin was murdered on his watch. And Barack Obama's response to that was the My Brother's Keeper initiative. Basically, that was just some more do-nothing political posturing. Same old empty prattling about opportunity gaps for boys and men of color. There we go with that again. Fixating on boys and men of color all the time. Your first biracial president, that seems to be on his mind constantly. Barack Obama was saying all of this, that parents are the ones who need to seek out gay mentors in their friend groups. Because that's actually who he was pointing his recommendation at. This is something he was basically pointing at parents. You got a son who's gay, or you know someone who's a boy who's gay, well, what you need to do is make sure that they have a gay mentor. He wanted to make sure that gay in particular was there. Because apparently Barack Obama feels that heterosexual mentors, or just heterosexuals in general, don't have empathy. They simply lack empathy. Your first biracial president saying this. And it's precisely this preoccupation with all of these other tangential things that is the reason that black people in particular couldn't get anything from the alleged first black president. Because he wasn't thinking about us. He never did. He's not recommending that people need to seek out black mentors, or that the country needs more black mentors due to a lack of empathy in this country. You need black mentors to teach you people some empathy. He didn't include that with his touchy-feely talk. He wasn't making it very clear, you need to make sure there's some black mentors in your friend group, because if you got any children at all, they need to have black folks there to be exposed to the black experience so they can learn some empathy. He didn't have anything to say about that. Then again, he didn't as president either. So what does that tell you? His absolute adamant refusal to speak up on black people's behalf and to take a hard line against anti-black racism, that wasn't because of any political triangulation. It wasn't because he was looking forward to the next election. It's because this is what he actually believes. And he doesn't want anybody putting anything in there that's going to clash with what he wants to see happen. What he wants is basically deracialization. Black people make it so very difficult for the Barack Obamas out there to finally realize their wet dream of being deracinated. You're not a black person or a biracial person. You're just Barack Obama, the tabula rasa, clean slate, empty nothing. That's the reason why at the 2004 Democratic Convention, when he gave the keynote address, he made sure to say, there is no black America. There is no white America. Only the United States of America. He didn't say there is no gay America. He didn't say that. He wasn't about to say that. If the former failed president is really all hot and bothered about boys and empathy, I'd like to know where he was at when Tamir Rice was murdered. Where was he when Trayvon Martin was murdered? Those were two black boys killed on his watch. He gave insincere lip service to Trayvon Martin, but he said nothing at all about Tamir Rice. So this just goes to show that now that Barack Obama's out of the White House, he can walk around D.C. freely because nobody cares about him. As far as they're concerned, he's just some old wrinkled-up Negro who obviously is off of his meds. Well, Barack Obama can keep his anonymity, and another thing he can keep is his mouth shut. It's better that way because every time the tether-in-chief opens his big yap, something stupid falls out. If nothing else, we found something that Barack Obama and Donald Trump have in common. They're both prone to saying absurdly stupid stuff in order to get people to pay attention to them. But nobody in their right mind is about to take parenting advice from Barack Obama. And when it comes to black boys or black men, nobody's going to take masculinity lessons from a guy who tolerates the kind of open verbal abuse and attacks that Michelle Obama dishes out. Parents who have boys, or just people in general who actually care about boys, they're perfectly capable of finding suitable mentors for those male children without the spineless, gutless, brainless, and testosterone-less Barack Obama throwing in his 2 cents. Seems to me that if Barack Obama did learn any alleged empathy from his gay professor, then he ought to go back to school because he desperately needs a refresher course. Good day. And be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Jason Frazier, Kawi Harvard, Robert Dobson, Sean Allison, and Glennis Davis. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.